Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:05 here in the UK, and it is Wednesday, 29th of July. It's a big day, folks. It's the FOMC meeting, and market should be quiet until they make their statement. We've also got results from Facebook, and tomorrow we've got results from the big tech companies, Amazon, Apple, Google, etc. And we've also got UK results coming out from Shell and from Anglo, to name a few. So what's happened this afternoon? Well, on VectorVest, strong opening. We've the advances ahead of declines, but still not enough action to turn the short-term trend of the market to up. That could happen during the day. It hasn't happened as yet. So the big news, of course, is that AMD has finally really moved, and some really great results last night that came in after the bell. So I'm going to look at the chart of AMD, and I'm going to look at the chart and I want to try and answer some questions that I've had over the last little while. So if we look at AMD, that's a yearly chart. Let's look at 6 months. There's earnings per share down below, and that looks okay. And certainly over 5 years it looks really good. Okay, so back to 6 months, and now I've proved that that's okay. I'm going to take the earnings per share off. The question that I get, first of all, there is the gap that happened last week on the sniff of earnings and the Intel announcement, and then all of a sudden earnings came on last night really good, and it gapped back up today. So that's been a particularly good trade. Many of you know that if you've listened to these short videos, that it went sideways here for quite a long time, waiting for the news. This is a reasonable cup, and these are reasonable handles, and it should have broken maybe much quicker, but it didn't. What can we do? Now, the question that I've been asked by quite a few people is, what's the difference between my favorite spring pattern and a double top? Well, there is very little difference. It's a matter of interpretation. Now, this market went up, and it certainly made a double top here and came off that top. Based on that double top, many people would have been shorting the breakout down here. But the basis of the Wyckoff Spring is to find a share that's trending with really good fundamentals. And in the VectorVest case, the market should be rising as well. And if I go to a 6-month chart and put on our friend the DEW has been up since the 6th or 7th of April. So the general market was rising. The earnings per share in AMD was favorable. So I was always looking to buy at these lows, and that was my last purchase in AMD, down around here at the lows. In fact, there was a hammer for confirmation, and then there was an up bar, and I bought in just after that up bar. So this I could have easily been wrong here, and the double top in fact worked, and the market fell down to here. But what I want to try and do, folks, is to find a share that's trending strongly, and VectorVest does that automatically with the CI measure. The share should be growing earnings strongly. And thirdly, the general market should be rising. And then I want to buy support. I want to get into the share right at the lows. Now, that's called a Wyckoff Spring. So in answer of the questions that I've had over the last few days, what's the difference between a double top or a treble top and the Wyckoff Spring? They could easily be the same thing. It's a question of interpretation, and it's a question of your own trading plan. My objective is to get into the market at the extreme where the risk is lowest and the profit potential is greatest. So I'd be looking to buy support when the market takes out the previous low, runs all the stop losses, and reverses. Now, we've got a potential spring in the UK on JD Sports, and so far it's hanging in there. We've got potential springs in the US and TTD. We've got a potential spring in Microsoft. They happen all the time. My last entry into the great winner, we'll have a look at it in a second, Games Workshop, was with a spring formation. So it's just my way of doing it. Remember, my objective as a trader is to engineer a trade where I can risk very little to make a lot, and that means getting in at the extremes, as Mr. Wyckoff so beautifully said. So three things required: a share that's in a strong trend, I want earnings per share to be growing strongly, and I want the general market to be rising. And for swing trading, I use the DEW. And then want to try and buy in at support, and I like to see the market in fact taking out prior lows and then reversing, and that is the spring setup itself. Its objective is to be right probably 60-70% of the time, but as you can see, the risk here, where's my little free hand? If I got in there, I can put a stop loss under that low. All right, and that distance is now, we've now made 5 or 6 times that, and that's how you make money in this business, folks. You don't have to be right that many times to make a fortune if you can maximize the risk to reward. I'm not saying it's easy, and buying down here wasn't easy, because invariably you're buying after there's been 5 or 6 very savage bars down. I think that on end of day charts you can get away by buying breakouts because the market follows through. Certainly if you want to be an intraday trader over 2 to 3 days, maybe 2 to 3 days, looking at early charts for entry points, or you want to be an intraday trader closing out that particular day, the Wyckoff Spring, finding a trend and buying in at support is the only way that I've been able to be successful, because that's the only way you can get your risk to reward up to a decent level. So that's AMD, and I've just tried to use that as an example of how and the philosophy behind using the Wyckoff Spring. This is a particularly good one, as you can see. There's resistance, came support again. I thought it was going to blast off here. I was wrong. It came back, and we have another go at it, and away she goes. So starting to, my target on this is about 80, but nevertheless, from 53 to 75, want to get itchy. Stop losses probably down below these last 2 little lows, somewhere in there maybe. I don't want to give too much of that back. So I hope that helps in terms of the philosophy of the spring. That's the market this afternoon. That's a 5-minute chart, and moving up quite strongly, gapped up this afternoon. So let's have a look at the UK. The UK, we're still, we've had 3 days of the primary wave down, and the VectorVest color guard is saying don't buy stocks at this time. All right, so pretty much all the measures of the market are up, but the primary wave down. So let's wait for the primary wave to turn. Let's wait for that little arrow to move into the green before we buy any stocks. If I go to viewers, we can see the magnificent Games Workshop, and I remember talking about this share at a investment conference in London, and the share was trading at less than £12 at the time, and I was laughed at because the chairman of the meeting, or the chap who was running the panel, said that you're buying into a share that makes toy soldiers, so nobody had heard of the darn thing, and that's quite common. VectorVest finds stocks that nobody has heard of well before they get to the Investors Chronicle or such like magazine. There's the spring, folks, and market was rising. Where's the DEW? The DEW was up since that low. Look at these DEW signals on this. The DEW was up. Earnings per share was good. And relative safety on this is good. It comes back to here, and this is not as good example as AMD because there's no shoulder here, and it runs up, can't make a new top. That could easily have been, those people asked the question, that could easily have been a double top, but it came right back here, a savage day here, down, ran stop losses, and those people that had stop losses too tight got stopped out, and invariably that happens before a big move, and as you can see, that's exactly what happened. This is very positive for the share, because the trend started to creep here, and it's now gapped out of that creeping formation, and I think that this can get probably an awful lot higher. I think, folks, that there is the fib expansion, and can you see how that 1.27 fib in fact held the market for the guts of a month? It's now broken out of that and moving to the 1.618 extension, which is up around the £100 level. Don't worry, you'll get plenty of time to buy into this. If the market sells off, sooner or later markets breathe in, they breathe out. It'll pull back to the 75 level, I'm quite sure. So unless you're a 2 to 3 day trader, I don't think you should chase it up here. But this is a class act, folks, and an exceptionally strong share. So let's look at JD before I finish, because JD Sports has been so good to me since I came back from South Africa. I came back from South Africa, and that and the building shares, JD Sports, and when I arrived back here first in 2011, 2012, the only shares that were moving were JD Sports and the building stocks, and myself and Susan Thornborough were vastly overweight in building stocks and vastly overweight in JD, but it played off for us. I have a behavioral finance problem in that I always veer back to those stocks that have done well for me in the past, and I want to make everybody very aware of that. I'm aware of it, but nevertheless I can't seem to get my mind around it. This is a potential spring. This could easily be a double top, and this moves down to here. I don't know, but the DEW is up. There's the DEW is up. There's the shoulder, comes back and kisses it and goes up, can't make a new high, comes off strongly, and now it's been accumulated there. Now folks, when you look at a chart, the most important thing to consider is where are the orders, and I assure you that the institutional orders for those people that are bullish on JD will be buying it somewhere down around this level, and many stop losses were hit, so I'm not sure whether this level is going to hold or not. All I know is that I can get into this share now with next to no risk, and there could be a huge amount of upside. VectorVest value at £8.70, valuations right up here. Okay, so my objective as a short-term trader is to try and optimize risk to reward with a reasonable hit rate. Don't do anything. Just remember that before we get a go ahead, certainly in my trading plan, I want at least the market to be showing that it's safe to buy stocks, that the pointer in the color guard is in the green. So wait for that, wait for everything to line up, and I have a position in JD Sports from here. It's in the money, not much in the money after it's pulled back a little bit. As you know, I feel that the market is mature, but hopefully there's still legs in it. I see somebody emailed me a moment ago, and JD Sports is up a tick or two today. So just wait for that green light, and the pointer on the front of VectorVest, if I can go back to the home page again, the pointer moving into the green, and that will mean that the primary wave is up, and up with conviction, and the underlying trend is up, the DEW is up, and then with any luck we'll get a nice run in this share. So I hope that that clears up any doubts in your mind of what I try and do as a swing trader. Thanks very much indeed.